Growth doesn't come from trying harder, it comes from integration. If we think about studying maybe at a PhD, master's level, and continuing to learn, but we don't put it into practice, we might have a lot of wonderful knowledge, but it hasn't been integrated into applied learning, right? So we've missed some of those nuances. When it comes to neurodiverse children or people who struggle with sensory processing, this is also true. So if we've been concerned that maybe our children are not at their developmental milestone and we are worried that they aren't catching up, trying to push them to do more isn't going to do anything except for result in overwhelm and lead to more activated states in their system, shut down so that they're not able to learn, and it usually results in more overwhelm in the family system. So what do we do? This is where integration comes in. Welcome to Glow Within. My name is Katie Connolly. I'm a mom to two, a clinical counselor, craniosacral and somatic therapist, and founder of a registered children's yoga school. So I've been at this a long time, working with the sensory motor and the nervous system and somatic approaches. I'm incredibly passionate about this work. So it's understandable that we might think this way, right? So we've been taught by and large that if we just try harder, if we do more, if we focus better, we're going to excel or achieve. But really, for most people, that's led to patterns of people-pleasing, burnout, and absolute overwhelm. It hasn't really gotten us very far, right? We might see those cycles of high energy and then extreme lows. So it's really interesting how we have this opportunity to shift some of these paradigms for ourselves and for our children. And I believe that our children are really here to grow with us, right? We have this opportunity for symbiotic growth where we can grow spiritually and maybe you don't believe in spirit, but as a whole person. And we can be here to help our children learn how to function in this world. So if your child is struggling, instead of telling them to just focus or let's keep trying, let's take a step back and look more at the root concerns here, right? So our children's systems, their nervous systems might be hyper or hyposensitive. And this can point to reticular activating system and craniosacral and reflex integration not being at their optimal, right? So all of us are going to go through ebbs and flows throughout our life when things are working absolutely perfectly. And sometimes maybe we feel a little overwhelmed and they might not be. That's okay. That's normal. We don't always want to be in a parasympathetic or that rest, digest, connected state. It's normal to be in the sympathetic and in more of an excited or activated state, right? We need to get out of bed in the morning. The sympathetic kicks in. We need to get maybe our homework or a big project done. We need that sympathetic response. So we need both. But if they are properly integrated, we'll be able to respond appropriately to different situations. And this is the key. So if we think about it like building a house, if the foundation isn't stable and we try to add more floors to it, what's going to happen? It's just going to create more pressure, right? So the reticular activating function or system, that is developed in utero. So that is it's responsible for our waking, our consciousness, our ability to tune out information that is not pertinent, right? If we were constantly bombarded by all of the stimuli, like many neurodiverse people and children are, then it becomes overwhelming. So reflex integration can help support this, as can many practices that support the nervous system, and that's really what my work is all about. So if the reticular activating system is overactive, we see hyperarousal, hypersensitivity. So things like ARFID, ultrasensitivity to light, to sounds, maybe to textures or clothing, maybe to people in our environment. So we see that high sensitivity because we're not able to sort of filter out what isn't important. And so this is also where the craniosacral system comes in, the craniosacral system being part of the nervous system. So the craniosacral system, we have, it innervates our senses. So our ability to determine in our external environment what the cues are, the stimuli is. It brings all that information to the brainstem, to the reticular activating system, to be able to decide, okay, is this pertinent information? Do I react in the parasympathetic, rest, digest, connect? Or do I react in an activated or excited state, sympathetic, fight or flight response? And so if this isn't working effectively or optimally, then we see these hyper or hyposensitivities. The most important part of the, or sorry, not most important part, but the part of the nerve or the craniosacral system that most people know is the vagus nerve. So that's the byway from the brainstem that sends information to our organs, but it also picks up information from our organs and sends information to the brainstem. So it's a really cool system that we can work with both physiologically, like through breath practices, nourishing our nervous system through food, but also through reflexes and through very practically creating environments that are supportive and not triggering. So there's lots of different ways that we can support our children with this. Things like sensory integration activities like swinging, climbing, crawling, all of these activities that really support the reflex integration and those natural rhythms that the body needs to develop are really, really important. One of those is music and coordination. So even like the bilateral activities can be really powerful. When we're able to do any of these bilateral activities, so like tapping either thigh to music, that is really fundamental to our development. And this is why baby music classes can be really powerful, or baby dance classes can be really powerful. So that's sort of one of the basic foundations. From there, we can work with lots of other reflex integration patterns to really support the whole development of the child. And they do, to a large extent, build on each other. So when some of them aren't integrated, we might see things like dyslexia, poor awareness of surroundings, startle responses. So there's lots of really fun, simple ways that we can support our children. And again, this is like at the backbone of all my work. But it's playful, right? So we keep it in play mode, but we can also use these practices as adults to nourish our nervous system. So many adults don't have fully integrated systems, or if we did, and we've experienced trauma or some challenging times, we can sort of not become disintegrated, but our system will be operating optimally. So bringing in these resources, again, can support us in nourishing our nervous system. Things like walking, right? That's rhythmic movement. That's bilateral movement. So that can be incredibly calming, particularly if we're in nature and picking up on all of these cues that support nourishing our nervous system. So when the body integrates, the mind can relax. And when the mind is relaxed, that's when we're able to learn. That's when we're able to really grow. So these are the foundations. So we can't force growth. We need to support it and nourish it in these foundational levels. So we can either keep pushing through, Or we can explore some of these foundational levels to really support ourselves and our children for optimal development. Not perfect development, not at a particular milestone, but optimal for each individual, right? We're all different. So if you'd like to learn more, comment Nourish and I'll send you my 4-day free guide to reset and reconnect. And I look forward to connecting with you further.